It's now time for On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson. The conversation will range from local dialogue to international. This show is meant to enlighten, inform, and to inspire. On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson begins now.
Hello and welcome to On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson, another Sunday afternoon. Thank you for joining me. So much has gone on in the city. Who knew, another mass shooting or whatever, just, we just have to say our prayers. We just need to be aware at all times, and you just need to take care of one another because evil is everywhere. But all of that aside, we have a great show that's coming your way today. I'm going to tell you about a man. You know him, but you don't know him. But after today's show, you will know him. And to that note, this young man also is coming to town. He's going to be at Grove Church on July the 13th for the Life Over Death Conference. Again, at Grove Church, they present the Life Over Death concert with Senior Pastor Dr. Melvin O'Mariner. But we welcome to the show right now Pastor Kwame Kilpatrick. Welcome to On the Line. How are you?
Hi, how you doing, Cheryl? How's everything?
Everything is fine here. If I go over your biography, I'm going to talk about the fact that you're a husband, your father, your brother. I'm going to talk about the fact that you went to an HBCU. I'm going to talk about the fact that you got that law degree. Yes, you did.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about the fact that you were elected to the Michigan State House of Representatives, and you did it at a very early age. And not only did you do that, you went on to become the mayor of Detroit. That's an awful lot at a young age, but you did it, right?
I did it. That's in the books, and then you got the other part.
The other part. Well, I was going to jump to the part about right now. You are an ordained minister. You're a motivational speaker. You're a consultant, and you're a certified character coach who values dedication, service, and excellence. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you tell the middle part, because that's how we roll around here. People are anxious to know what you're doing. They're like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from him. What is he doing? So once you ran the city of Detroit, what is the biggest difference in Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick and Pastor Kwame Kilpatrick?
Well, it may sound a bit cliche, but the biggest difference is that I know Jesus Christ. And I don't believe that there's a bigger difference that you can make than that one. But I went through hell and high water to get that transformational power and understanding. So, what I'm doing now is preaching and teaching, like you said, motivational speaking around the country. We started a ministry, Movemental Ministry. We're here in Atlanta. And, we go out all over the country, and we also have services here and Bible studies here. And so that's what I'm doing now. But, to go from mayor, I was heavily into politics all day, every day. Like you said, I was 25 years old when I ran for the State House. I was 29 years old when I became the leader of the State House. I was the first African American, the youngest person to ever hold that position. And from there, at 30, I ran for mayor and actually took the job at 31 years old. So it's been a long. I'm 52 now. So that's 21 years ago. All of that was happening. After about just under 7 years as mayor, I went into the worst period of time in my entire life. I went to a trial in the federal government. I had a 6-month trial and then was sentenced for public corruption to 28 years in prison. And by the grace of God, when I got there, after feeling sorry for myself, Cheryl, for about a year and a half, I stumbled up into the chapel there at FCI El Reno, which is a federal correction institution. And there was this tall, big, 6'4", conservative white guy from Yukon, Oklahoma, that asked me a question that changed my life. He said, Kwame?
Kwame.
He said, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ? And I told him, absolutely not. I don't even know what that is. And I had been in church my whole life, but I was so depressed and broken at that point. And he said, let me sit down with you. And we sat down and he talked to me about the gospel of Jesus Christ, and with tears pouring out my eyes, that day, which was June 9, 2014, radically changed my life. And I started working in the chapel. A couple of years later, I was teaching Bible studies. A couple of years later, I was preaching the messages on Sundays. And at the 3 different prisons that I went to. I worked in the chapel and preached the gospel of Jesus Christ and counseled men and taught classes. And I found that first day that I got up, I'd spoken at Democratic conventions, I'd spoken at large commencement ceremonies, but that first day, standing in front of about 50 men in an old prison chapel, I was nervous, I was scared, I was shaking, sweating. But I knew after I got started, I didn't want to do anything else in my life. And so that's what I've been doing.
But you said,
I'm miraculous. Go ahead.
You said you went through hell. Why did you go through hell? Did you go through hell because everybody has to go through some hell? Or did you go through hell because you weren't paying attention? Or why do you think you went through the hell you went through?
I think it's because I had a hard head. I was arrogant, prideful. I was just not trying to listen to nobody but Kwame. One of the things that I do when I go around the country is I try to get men especially to look at themselves, not the themselves that they made themselves to be. That's a real issue. Unfortunately, the attacks, the issues that revolve around Black men are real. And sometimes, and more times than not, we have to build a monument unto ourselves. We have to make ourselves courageous and powerful. We can't look hurt or weak or disabled. We can't really engage the soulless realm or the emotional toil that we go through. And at some point, that really makes us something other than ourselves and the intended purpose that God has for our lives. And so when I got in that prison system, it took me about 1.5 years. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at you, Cheryl. I didn't even know you. It was your fault.
Did you think you were going to go to jail? Prison?
I thought I was going to beat the case the entire time.
Okay.
These folks ain't doing nothing, I'm walking around like I know what I'm doing. These people crazy, and by the grace and mercy of God, I didn't win the case because I'd be worse now. I went in there. It was hard. It was hard on my sons. I had 3 sons at that point. I have 5 sons now. But
wow, you got a nation.
I got a nation now. And, but at that particular point, it was tough on everybody, my parents, my sons, my siblings. But through that process, I was in prison 39 days short of 8 years with a 28-year sentence. President Donald Trump, who most of Black America was saying is this person didn't even have a heart. Mm-hmm. By the grace of God, I was praying every day in a prison cell, Proverbs 21:1, that the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. And like the rivers of water, he could turn it whichever way he pleases, turn the president's heart towards me. And the last day of his presidency, exactly 11 hours before he left office, he signed a commutation and got me out. I have never met him, still to this day. And so I know that the power of God is real. I know that prayer works. But I also know that I'm on assignment. I'm still a prisoner, just have a different warden. And I'm now working every day diligently in the kingdom of God because of that hell that I went through. I want more people to experience the other side of the transformation.
When you talk to people such as yourself, or if you talk to someone like a Michael Vick, they say that they would not have changed anything about their life if they could, because it brought them to where they are today, and it made them the man they are today. Would you say that about yourself?
I would. I was reading, I did a Bible study last week, just to make this point even more profoundly. And the Bible talks about, Jonah. We all heard that story about Jonah. But in the 4th chapter, in the 1st verse, it says that the Lord caused the storm. And that was just so big for me, because we always blame the devil for everything.
You're right.
It was like that going, it was the devil. And the Lord, in his mercy, when Jonah was going exactly the wrong way, when he was not doing what God told him to do, when he was being a knucklehead, when he was being hard-headed, when he was being proud, the Lord caused the storm. So I like to answer that question like this. I just thank God for his mercy that he didn't allow me to keep going through the hell that I was going through in my own life. Mm-hmm. My own ignorance, my own stupidity, my own sin. And there was a time where there was a storm, and nothing would have changed me but for that kind of storm. It was the perfect storm for me.
Well, there are recent articles out there. I read one, I think, yesterday, and it was painting you and your family now, your young son, your new wife. It was painting you in a derogatory light. And I'm thinking to myself, will you always have that target on your back? And if so, are you okay with that?
I think that was from Detroit. And unfortunately, the city of Detroit, they promised everybody when I left everything would be all right. And it's unfortunate that most of the citizens that are in the city of Detroit are not experiencing that quote unquote all right. And so I was there. They don't come talk to me. They just kind of write, but every now and then. But I don't care about that. It used to matter, Cheryl, because I was in politics. And one of the things that God has freed me from is from the opinions of people. I think that most people in our society, if we could just get free from people, that we would experience a part of life that many of us have been just starving and craving to experience. And so, no, I mean, I don't mind what follows me. And over the last few weeks, I've preached in 4 different cities, and I've watched men and women change. I've received the emails and the social media messages about that. And I think that's so much more important. I don't believe that the politician has a greater work to do than the people that are saving people from death. And, as we went through a pandemic, Cheryl, and as we go through different things in this society, it's all right to have a politician, but we saw the politics fail. The issues when suicides are up, when depression is up, when a mass shooting is happening every week, people's hearts need to be healed. So what people are continuing to be and hateful and spiteful and all that, it's not working in this society. It's just not. And we need to come to a point where we got to stop. We just need to stop and just try to figure out how do we help each other heal from the toils that are going on in our souls.
If you are just joining me, I am speaking with Pastor Kwame Kilpatrick. He's going to be in town. He's going to be in Portsmouth at Grove Church. That's going to be on July the 13th. So when you were writing your book, and the name of the book is Off the Grid, The Journey Back to Destiny, who did you think, you're writing this book and getting it edited and everything, who did you think was the perfect target, the perfect demographic to read that book?
I think that the perfect demographic to read that book is anybody who has a dream to go beyond the circumstances that they've experienced. Anybody that is in a place in their lives where it's become stagnant and there's not any growth, but something inside their belly said that I was called to more than this. Anybody that has been, a victim of their own stupidity, a victim of their own sin, their own stuff, and now has come to a place where I got to get out of here. I can go somewhere from here, and it can't be further down. And so that's the demographic. That book was written over a 1-year period. So about 9 months or 10 months of that book was when I was still in prison with no understanding that I was getting out. And so I wrote the first chapter last. And that's the greatest part of the book. I wrote that first chapter in the book last. It was the last thing I wrote, and I wrote 2 chapters when I got out. The rest of it was written when I was in. And so I think it's for people who have been, I've discovered, Cher, that there are more prisons than those that are physical institutions. There are prisons of mental distress, prisons of divorce, prisons of health issues, prisons of emotional toil. And so, people are incarcerated. Bob Marley said that we had to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. And I think that there are a lot of people who are still incarcerated by something that they need to be released and delivered from. And this book, I truly believe, will help people get up from where they've been.
As you are talking, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of a young lady, and she runs track. Her name is Sha'Carri Richardson. And you probably know the story. And, I sit back and I listen to the conversations in the room, and people say, she needs to do this and she needs to do that and whatever. And she needs somebody around her. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how do we know that she doesn't have people around her that are trying genuinely to help her, not those that are trying to profit off of her name? and she's just not listening to them. And you used that word knucklehead twice in this interview. She's just being a knucklehead about it. When you see people in the public like that, do you think, oh, I know what they're going through. I went through that when people were trying to help me and I wouldn't listen? Or what are your thoughts when you see somebody? Because to me, when I see her, I think she's in distress. I don't think she's being arrogant, obnoxious on purpose or whatever. I think she's in pain. That's what I think. I have no degrees in any of that, but that's what I think. What do you see when you see a person such as a Sha'Carri Richardson?
I see a beautiful, young, very gifted and talented woman who I am desperately praying that she would come to herself in a way that would blow people's minds and also surprise and shock her own self. I'm kind of free from judgment. I think part of public people, the first thing they get is judgment from folks who haven't ascended to a level that they've ascended to.
Correct.
Who haven't endured the kind of pressure that this young lady has had to endure. And so, I mean, I'm hopeful that somebody's wrapping their arms around her. And if she never runs a race again, that she understands that somebody loves her for who she is.
Mm-hmm.
I see both sides, Cheryl. I see that it's probably because to be an athlete on that level, and you know, I played football at Florida A&M. I was an All-American, but I was not a pro. I wasn't tenacious. I didn't want to. It wasn't the end all, the be all. I didn't play on the kind of level that she's been playing on. But when you play on those professional levels, and to have that type of courage and confidence to compete in front of millions and to shine every time and run your best race and do, that's a lot of pressure. And those type of people typically are hard to change. They listen to a coach, a confidant, but a circle of people, it's just too many. Mm-hmm. And then I see the other side of it too, where the wrong people are around you.
Yes.
And all they really want is to profit from your
yes.
gift. And so they're not giving you good advice. And then when they try to do it, after they done after they done did everything with you, they done participated in all the stuff with you, then you get in trouble. They want to start acting like they can give good advice. It's just no weight to it. And so I'm hopeful that there's some people there in Texas, the people that she knows. I know she's had some turmoil in her family and death in her family.
Yes.
My heart just so goes out to her. I like her whole thing. You know, I just love black folk, black women, black men. I love our style. I love our pizzazz. I love our boldness. And I just hope that she can come back to herself and there can be some people there to help her do it.
Well, did you have people around you that were pulling at your coat and they were saying, Kwame, pull back, fall back just a little bit? Did you have that happening for you?
Well, let me say it like this, because I think people around the country should know this. Detroit hadn't built a hotel when I took office since 1989. When I took office in 2002 in January, the last hotel to be built in Detroit was 1989. We built 7 hotels in 5 years.
You said 7?
7 hotels,
wow.
3 casino hotels, MGM, Mandalay Bay, Hollywood, Greektown. We built totally redid downtown Campus Martius. It was the largest integrated construction project in the city of Detroit downtown history. We built more housing, more roads. We hosted the Super Bowl, Major League Baseball All-Star Game, G8, G9 Summit. You know, Detroit was experiencing the type of development when we came in that we never had before. The issue you'll never hear from anybody about Kwame Kilpatrick is his work. And the reason I had to say that first is because I know now when you think about it, nobody's ever heard about the work we did.
Right. Okay.
It's the character. Bishop Jake said that your gift will take you to a place that your character will take you from. And so the issue of people around, a lot of political people around, they didn't know how to do a budget over those 7 years or how to help diversify the economic base. Detroit had been talking about building a new Riverwalk and Riverfront for 30 years. We built it in 5 years. I mean, so they couldn't help me on the work.
Okay.
But none of those people were character people.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so that's what when people talk about you got to get some old guys, you got to get some gray hairs. I'm saying this for every young person out there, people that are, you're starting your law practice, your medical practice, your real estate firm, you're moving in your finance firm, and people are telling you need some old guys. Not necessarily, because there's some old fools.
Mm-hmm.
What you need is the person that strengthens you where you're weak. So it was pretty tough for people to be around me that understood the appropriations processes in Washington and Lansing better than I did. But they knew that I should be able to balance and put God first. And I needed those people that understand how to have faith and family and the job and being able to go. I needed somebody to say, Kwame, go home, man. You need to be at your son's basketball game.
Okay.
You need to go and protect it. And that is what people need more than anything else, because I'm hitting this point hard, is because so many young people, they hear all the time that you got to get somebody around you no, because most of those people can't run faster than Carrie. They can't work out faster than she can. They don't put in the hours she does. And so they typically want to come around and not help with what she really needs. She needs to be loved. She needs to be guided from a character and integrity perspective. She needs to understand her marketing value. And that's the kind of team that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the kind of team that others need. Lastly, Cheryl, I'm that guy now. That's what people come with. If you want to talk to me, and I'll tell you the problem with adultery and the problem with what you're doing with this woman, I can talk to you straight up. The problem what you're doing over here, and that's where I've moved to, because I know more than teaching this young man how to do finance and hedge funds and real estate. I don't know about that, but I know right now I can look at your life and tell you you're hanging out too much. You're drinking too much. You need to leave that marijuana alone. You're going to mess yourself up with that woman. And that's what people need. They need character coaching. They need integrity, because that's the thing that takes men and women away from the places that God puts them with that gift.
Will you ever go back to Detroit, Pastor?
I have no immediate plans to go back to Detroit. God told me to stay up out of that right now. But I can't say never, because, God is amazing. He'll surprise you and say, okay, go back. But I don't believe it's the right place for me. I'm not going back into politics.
Mm-hmm. Do you have thoughts on anything in the political world today you want to say?
No. I mean, to me, it's just, I would say this. If I dive into politics, just so we do an interview, Cheryl, I know you.
Just for me, Pastor.
You like
just
to pull
for me.
it out. I can see that right now. Well, no, but say y'all something else. But listen, I just think that since we're talking on an HBCU platform, that we as African American people, Black folk, we need to be very careful about aligning ourselves continuously to the party system. The first thing you need to understand, I ran the Democratic campaign for the state of Michigan. I ran it at 26, 27, 28 years old. And I would write commercials for the northern Michigan guys that say, we got to stop the giant sucking sound from Detroit. They're taking our money. And I'm a Detroiter. But I was trying to get my candidate elected. Why I give you that example is I would write commercials in Detroit saying something totally different. We're being led around by optics. We're being led around by political campaigns. And the issues that are truly important to the positive advancement of our community are never put forward with people where it really matters. And that's why you get a president like Biden, where 10 people can get shot in Buffalo, and he did something for the Asians, and he'll do something for LGBT, or he'll do something for another community, but he ain't going to do an executive order for you. It's the reason, because your power now is denigrated and just dissolved in this thing we call elections. But the body of politics is a context for it. And you have to be able to engage people and understand that this is how we get things done. In the Jewish community and the Asian community and Mexican community, they all understand. Even the LGBT community understands. But we as Black folk, we think all of our power has to be spent during an election time. And I just would be careful with that, with this whole white, Black, right wing, left wing, MSNBC, Fox, I hate this, I like this. because you put yourself in a position where you have no bargaining position in politics. So if it's all about voting, then you just have to just take what you get. But if it's not, if it's about politics, if it's about positioning, if it's about power, then let's have a conversation about how we wield what we got, because we can do it.
So you would say no. If I came to you and say, Pastor Kilpatrick, I think that we should have 5 political parties. We should have, the right and the ultra-right, and then we should have the Democrats and their progressive end, and we should throw a Labor Party in there. You would look at me and you would say what?
No, because in America, the two-party system is the fastest way to get to power. So what I would say is we need to organize within our communities. Unfortunately, when you look at the NAACP or the Urban League, they're nonprofit organizations. So you need one to be a political organization that can engage politics and be absolutely focused on what's best for community. The issue of criminal justice, for instance, all the Democrats said, yeah, we better on criminal justice. But Trump has to first step back. Trump fully funded HBCUs, but we don't like Trump. I can't.
Do you like
Trump.
him?
I can see the problem that people have. Listen.
I mean, I know he let you out of prison. I get that.
No. But, you can't skip that. No, you saying that like that's look.
But no. I mean, to a normal person, they're going to say, "Oh, he would like them, or he would be okay with them because he let him out of hell." But so I'm just asking you.
Let me give a different example because he's polarizing.
Okay.
The president that helped Detroit more than any president in recent history has been George Bush.
Okay.
George Bush gave $18 million to fully fund the housing department. George Bush signed off on the last money that we needed for the riverfront to get it done. George Bush just put the money in the Secretary of Interior so we could do 36 new parks in the city of Detroit and 6 new rec centers. Not because I like them or not, but because I engaged the politics.
You engaged
in
in politics.
We're talking about these things. The Democratic governor, they wasn't trying to help. So at some point, if the person is not trying to help, if the person is not trying to help, what do? Do you just complain? And at some point, we have to stop this bleeding heart political stuff. It really just messes with me because I just I didn't come up in politics like that.
Right. Okay.
And so the reason why I went to George Bush is because conversations start and stop at Trump's door. And then people, because they're so emotional about that issue one way or another, you never get to the substantive part of the conversation about how we position ourselves to make sure we get fairness. The criminal justice system is definitely a selective prosecution system. Most of the time, malicious sentencing system when it comes to Black Americans.
Correct.
That's just true. You can't you can go look at 2 people. I had 2 cellies, one white guy and one black guy. They from the same county in Ohio. They did the same bank robbery the same way. One got 3.5 years, the other one got 12 years. One was 25, one was 30. And the judge, if you read the reports, I used to help people with their cases, put that law degree to use when I was there and get people out of prison. But while I looked at their paperwork so much, it's because the judge in the case of the white guy, who was a nice guy, I like him, cool dude. But the judge said he's a very nice young man and deserves a second chance. The black guy, 25-year-old, he had dreads, cool guy, wonderful young man. I'm talking about one of those guys that, made a stupid mistake and he gonna be all right. But he gave him 12 years. He said that this is the type, same court, different judge, same court, that this is the type of person that we need to get off of our street. He had never done any crime before, no priors, but that's what he said in this 25-year-old young man's case. We have to understand that there's a way to impact the system. And we have to stop just going out and making everything so emotionally drawn about who the Democrat is or who the Republican is. And as soon as we do that, you'll start to see some changes on behalf of the community around the country. That's why Kwame Kilpatrick was something else, because I went to whoever wanted to help Detroit.
Whoever wanted to help.
Detroit, you was Republican, right wing, all that. We ain't had to go fishing. We ain't had to do kumbaya, but I was going to work with you because it was more important that young kids have a place to play after school than it was for me going out to picket about some Republican I didn't like. We have to get back to the business that really matters to our community.
I am angry right now because we are down to our last 20 seconds, believe it or not. I have been speaking with Pastor Kwame Kilpatrick. You can check him out July the 13th at Grove Church in Portsmouth, Virginia. The senior pastor is Dr. Melvin O. Mariner. And Pastor Kilpatrick, how can I say thank you for joining me today? And please, anytime you're ready to talk, we are here for you.
Hey, thank you, Cheryl. And I had a good time. You got it up out of me, too. I appreciate you.
That's my
and,
job.
Hey, Off the Grid, you can get the book and you can really go through the process with me. I think you'll be inspired and encouraged with doing it. It's on Amazon. So Amazon.com, Off the Grid by Kwame Kilpatrick.
Sounds wonderful. Hugs and kisses to young King, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Stay well. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, you too now. You and your family.
All right. There you have it, everybody.
There you go.
Another edition of On the Line. Thank you all for joining us. We had a good time today. I'll talk to you next Sunday. Take care and be well.